Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel Living in Canada. Today I want to try and answer the question of, can you save money here in Canada? And specifically I will be talking about Toronto, but this will more or less also apply in other cities to some extent. You watching this video right now might still be overseas, you might not be in Canada yet, and you are thinking about how it's gonna be like once you're in Canada, especially the question of, will I be able to save any money or not? Perhaps you've heard from many people and from YouTube videos and blogs that living in Canada, especially Toronto and Vancouver, is really expensive. So will there be a chance to save any money, or will you just be living paycheck to paycheck? Or you might have already been living here in Canada for a while and you've noticed how expensive everything here is, and you've been asking yourself and finding ways for saving up some money because you don't want to live paycheck to paycheck forever, but you want to start building up some assets and have some investments and so on. This question is of course not easy to answer because it depends on so many things. It depends, for example, simply on whether you're single, whether you're a couple, or you have kids, and whether you have pets or not. Pets are really expensive, right? And also how much your income is, your take-home pay, how much your expenses are, and yeah, especially what your lifestyle is like, whether you have an expensive lifestyle or a basic lifestyle or so. So in this video, I'm just going to approach it on a very general level, meaning that I will just try and give you two examples so that you can get a rough idea of how much you can realistically spend here in Canada. Yeah, and perhaps this video might be slightly more useful to those of you who are not in Canada yet, because you might not have any idea at all what things cost here. But I do hope that even if you're already in Canada, that this video can also be useful to give you some ideas on how you can possibly scrape some money so that you can save more. Let's just start with the first example here, which is the single person. Let's just say that you're a single person, you are not here with your family, you don't have any kids, you don't have any pets, and you have a regular office job. So a job that pays an average salary, let's just say that it's $40,000 annually per year. And let's just say very roughly that after taxes, you have a take-home pay of about $30,000. And by the way, this is not an exact number, this is just a very rough estimate. So let's just say that your take-home pay after taxes, after deductions and everything is $30,000. And let's say that your annual expenses, your expenses per year are between $20,000 to $25,000, which is quite realistic. You can afford a quite good life with that budget. So that would leave you an amount of $5,000 to $10,000 to save. So your take-home pay is $30,000, and if your expenses are $20,000, then you have $10,000 left. But if your expenses are $25,000, then you only have $5,000 less to save. And this, I would say, is a very realistic number. Of course, you can save even more. I've heard of people who lived in a place which they shared with other people and ended up paying only $200, $250 rent per month. There are also people who live with a bunch of roommates and they take turns cooking, and they really watch their budget very, very closely, and they end up saving much more. So this amount, $5,000 to $10,000, is an amount that I would say you can easily save if you have a rather average lifestyle. Now let's go on to the second example, and let's talk about a couple here. So let's say that this is a couple without kids, so just two people, and let's just say that their combined household income is $80,000. So one person earns $40,000, the other $40,000, or one person earns $50,000, the other $30,000. It could be any kind of combination. Let's just say that they end up with a total annual household income of $80,000, and after tax, deductions, and everything, their take-home pay is $60,000. And again, this is a very, very rough estimate. It could be less than that. It is likely to be slightly less than that, but let's just take this for simplicity's sake. So let's say that they take home $60,000, and let's say that they, as a couple, the two of them, spend per year $40,000 to $45,000. So that means that they will be able to save between $15,000 and $20,000. So if their take-home pay is $60,000 and they spend $40,000, then they can save $20,000, which is really not bad. But if their take-home pay is $60,000 and they spend $45,000, they only get to save $15,000, which is also quite good. So if you live here as a couple, then I believe that the potential to save more money is even higher, because of course you would be sharing one place to live together. You would only be buying one sofa, one TV, one rice cooker, and one of like most things in your household, instead of having to purchase one for each, except your iPhones, of course. So if you live together with someone else, then there are a lot of expenses that you can share, and you end up spending less in total. So what does it all come down to? If there are two people who earn the same income, how come that one person can save $5,000 only, while the other person can save $10,000 or $15,000? Usually it comes down to two main factors, which is, as you might have guessed it, rent and transportation. So rent and transportation are two huge costs. If you are single with an income of $40,000 and you rent a place that is $2,200 or more, then no matter how much you save on the other things, how much you budget on the other things, you will end up almost saving nothing, just because you're spending so much on rent already. And the same goes for transportation. If you have a car, if you're leasing a car and you have to commute, let's say for 1 hour each day back and forth, so 2 hours, so that will also cost you a lot. Those are two big expenses that you really have to think about, that you have to carefully consider. Consider what your priorities are. Is your priority to live in a nicer, bigger apartment, to drive a nice car, have the convenience and comfort, or would you prefer saving up a bit more money and spending less on transportation, meaning that you take public transportation or ride a bike, which is very possible here in Toronto, and you live in a smaller, less expensive place? And I know, of course, rent is very high here in Toronto, but if you really search for it, you can find places that are relatively affordable. But of course, they are not upscale, luxurious condominiums in downtown. They might be a bit further away from the city center, but still accessible by using public transportation, the bus, the subway, the streetcar, and so on. And they're not luxurious premium places. It might be an old building, but still quite well functioning. And you might also opt for a place that is slightly smaller. Let's say if you're a single person, instead of getting a one-bedroom apartment, you could get a studio apartment. And if you're a couple, instead of getting a two-bedroom apartment, you could get a one-bedroom apartment, or you could even get a slightly larger studio or a basement apartment. Although personally, I am not a big fan of basement apartments. But I do think that in the beginning, if you just arrive here in Canada and you have a savings goal, you want to accumulate some assets, then I think that it's a good idea in the beginning to just go for something for an apartment that costs less, so that you can save up more money. I hope that this was able to give you a very rough picture of how much you could possibly save here. Of course, there is no upper limit. If you make more money, you will be able to save more. But also, very importantly, keep in mind, even though your income increases, but if along with that your expenses also increase and your lifestyle increases, meaning that when you get a higher salary, you upgrade to a fancier apartment, a fancier car, etc., and you buy more expensive food, you eat out more, and so on, then in the end you could still end up living paycheck to paycheck. But if you manage your finances and your budget wisely, then you could end up saving a quite decent amount. I hope that was helpful, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.